break the fucking rules. Goddamn nonconformists.
Did you have any one-on-one conversations with Vladimir Putin?
I did.
What was he saying to you?
It was an incredibly depressing conversation.
Have you been shocked by Trump's approach to
Probably.
this situation?
No.
Oh, interesting. Wait.
Absolutely. I mean, bluntly, we hadn't got a clear strategy anymore. And so you needed someone to come in and say, right, I'm going to try and make peace, which is what the president...
Oh my god, he says it. He said we didn't have a clear strategy. Yeah, that says it all. So Boris Johnson of the UK. Interesting, eh?
is trying to do.
Boris, with all
For the
respect,
first
let me
time-
ask the question before you answer it.
But there's another part to it, Boris.
But wait. What they wanted was to take back control.
In order to do what?
To take
In
back,
order to do what?
To take
In
back
order
control.
to leave things the same or make them worse?
So that
Rishi Sunak
Trump-
just said "Stop the boats" was the wrong slogan. We
he
went
was
too
wrong.
far.
We should have no. The problem was that they didn't do what I told them to do.
No,
And-
hold on.
and-
You say
and so there was-
no, Boris. I'm not going to let you get away with this. You say
you must.
No, I'm not.
You must.
You just come back from
Fucking
Washington, and
Boris
this is
Johnson.
really one of the big things we wanted to talk to you about, which
Yes.
is, of course, Ukraine.
Yes. Thank you very much for having me on the show, Francis.
It's great to have him.
Yes.
No, I'm not.
You must.
I
You must.
I refuse.
Because
This
in
is
the
what he's
world-
like. You can't get a question
No,
in
well,
edgeways.
you was wrong. Go on.
Boris Johnson,
Yes, hello. Thank you, Constantine. Thank you very much for having me on the show, Francis.
it's great to have you
Great,
here.
Great to
Thanks
be
for
here.
joining
Great to
us.
be here. Yes, I've just got off a plane from Washington, so forgive me if I'm a bit blurry in my.
Well, we might
I'll
forgive
do my
you.
best.
The audience might not forgive you, but it doesn't matter.
They'll have to lump it.
They will. They will indeed.
They'll have to lump it.
So let's get to the lumping it part. You've just come back from Washington, and this is really one of the big things we wanted to talk to you about, which
Yes.
is, of course, Ukraine.
Yes.
The question that I think a lot of people would want to know, and cards on the table, we've always been very pro-Ukraine, we raise money for Ukraine, etc., is why were you so strong at the beginning of this war to get the Western world to support Ukraine? What is the rationale? Because I don't think that has ever been articulated in a powerful way to people.
I think it's very simple. I felt enraged and in a way guilty that this support.
I felt enraged and in a way guilty. Guilty of what? The fuck did you do?
Appalling and irrational thing had happened on my
Irrational?
watch, as it were. There
On your watch?
I was a prime minister of a G7 country,
Oh.
a P5 country, a nuclear power, and we'd been unable to persuade Putin not to do something so completely
Oh, that's what it
self-destructive
was.
and
You guys were...
destructive of.
You guys
of
didn't know how to
Ukraine.
deal with
And
Putin,
it was
eh?
enraging, and I was disgusted at what he was doing, and I felt.
What do
that
you
it was,
mean discuss? He's a
felt that there were so
fucking
many
politician.
lies he was
An
telling
ex-KGB military guy.
um,
He's not
the
fucking
reason
around.
was invading Ukraine. And they were not falling entirely on deaf ears, and people were saying, you hear it, you still hear it. We poked the bear. It was the fault of the West for encouraging the Ukrainians to pursue NATO membership. We should never have done that, and it's total nonsense.
Why is that total nonsense?
It's total nonsense.
Why?
Because
That's
the
interesting. He talks about
simple
NATO.
fact is, and Putin knew this very well, there was not the remotest chance, there was not a snowball's chance in hell.
I mean, well, it was
of
strange that
Ukraine,
Putin did allow all those countries to
joining
accept NATO and then
in 2022.
right, join
As
peace
things stood
with
in
NATO too.
2022, when Putin launched his full-scale invasion, there was not a snowball's chance in hell of Ukraine joining NATO for decades, in the foreseeable future. I'll tell you why. Because the black balls, the countries voting no, they would have looked like sheep droppings. I mean, there have been so many black balls, right? Because they're not just the Hungarians, the French, the Germans, the Americans weren't on for extending their nuclear guarantee to a huge country, 45 million people, second biggest country in Europe by land area, colossal country. It was not going to happen. There were very few actual proponents of Ukrainian membership then in 2022. It wasn't going to happen till the hell froze over, the Greek calends, whatever, however you want to put it. And Putin knew that.
So what's his motivation?
Well, his motivation was very clear. His motivation was to, after 20 years in power, to galvanize public opinion in Russia behind a nationalist adventure, to boost his own standing, and to sadly, to some extent, he's been successful. I mean, people
wasn't it the same way with Xi, right?
A lot of Russians.
Wasn't it the same way with the South Korean president or prime minister who went fucking AWOL? Right? It's like, jeez.
He hated the collapse of the Soviet Empire, and he was on record.
Right. Some of these guys will do whatever they can to stay in power, regardless if the public opinion on them is negative.
It's actually all there in his crazy kind of Nostradamus essay about what Ukraine is. And he thought it was basically the origins of the spiritual origins of Russian culture and should be reunited with Russia. And that was in complete contradiction, of course, of what the Ukrainians wanted. They voted in 1991 to be a free, sovereign, independent country. And I think that his motives were entirely cynical. He thought, because he thought that the West would acquiesce.
Right, just like this was back in 1991. Same with the Israel fucking Palestine conflict and all those fucking terrorist organizations. Back in 1994, when they started making humanitarian or UN efforts to deal with some of this stuff.
As they had in 2014. And he thought that he would conquer Ukraine very speedily. He thought that it would be...
So there has been plans ever since, right, the 1990s to try and clean up some of this stuff.
Very, very soon. I think he also probably calculated that the oil price would spike and that would be good for Russia. And that for a long time he would be able to finance, for as long as it took. And I think he miscalculated how long it would take, but he thought that he would benefit from an oil price spike that would more than finance the cost of the war. As it happened, the war's been ruinously expensive for him, but he was certainly right in that short term calculation.
Well,
I think it was an entirely cynical thing. Ukraine was no conceivable threat to Putin at the time.
Well, obviously,
and
fucking Ukraine is like an ant to Putin. It's just the fact that that people started arming him and started giving him a bunch of money and stuff, right?
Was I so worked up about it? I mean, partly it was, a feeling of responsibility because as a UK Prime Minister, because after all, in 1994, under the Budapest Memorandum,
Aquino J, how's it going?
You've got to give up your 1,700 nuclear warheads, but we will protect you. France, Britain, America, and of course, absurdly, Russia said that they would protect Ukraine in the event of attack, and actually, we didn't do that in 2014, and then again in 2022.
What's up? How's it going? How about yourself? Just chilling out tonight.
The best plan I could see was
seeing what Boris Johnson's up to
when the disaster started to unfold in January, but actually before then, you really started to get the evidence that it was going to go wrong. The best plan I could see was to get weapons to the Ukrainians as fast as possible, and so from the autumn onwards.
When did you know he was going to invade?
Well, I think his essay was back in July of the previous year.
July 2013.
Back in the previous summer, and to his great credit, Ben
Probably.
Wallace, the defense secretary,
Right,
then defense secretary,
2013,
said, "You've gotta
2014
read
is when
this."
the annexation of
Obviously, he's in
Crimea.
it. Totally bonkers.
Oh, that's when they
but,
started
you know,
moving
I really
to
think
do
he means
that.
it. I really think he's going to invade. Ben thought that back in the summer. I did read it. I thought it was spooky and chilling. And so one of the things that we did was to begin, I think from August, I can't remember exactly when, but we started a process to try to get the Javelin, not the Javelins, the NLAWs, which were made in Belfast, to
Just chilling for sure.
to Ukraine.
The in-laws,
And I got to tell you, that was not easy because there was a lot of
the in-laws. During Biden, or not Biden, I'm sorry,
anxiety
Obama.
in the system.
Yeah,
About
because
doing things that
I
would
think
provoke
Obama didn't want to
Putin.
do.
This became
Yeah,
a constant argument.
Now that I think about it, yeah, during that time, Obama didn't talk about it that much. Yeah, when that shit all went down, Obama didn't talk anything about it. He only gave. I think that's why Trump was all like, "Hey, he gave sheets," because I think under the table or like away from prying eyes, he only gave them humanitarian aid or medical aid or some shit like stuff like that. But never gave them like any armaments or anything to protect them.
As the whole thing developed, you remember, people said, we can't do X, Y, and Z because it's escalatory. If you give Putin, as you say, if you give the Ukrainians
But Obama didn't talk about it.
of one particular kind, Putin will be provoked and he'll do something even more aggressive. And this was a continuing theme. Actually, he'd already
It was so
decided
long
he was
ago.
going to try
You
to
have to go
take
back
over and wipe out Ukraine. So
some
he
time
was the
back
guy
to
who wanted to
check the
escalate.
news.
Did you have any one-on-one conversations?
I mean,
with
it'd probably
Vladimir
be
Putin?
easier
I
to
did.
check.
I
What
did.
was
I
he
mean,
saying to you?
2014 news.
well, I give an account of it actually in the book Unleashed, but it was an incredibly depressing conversation because he repeated his assertions that Ukraine could be a kind of threat to Russia, and I think he made the point that if ICBMs were stationed, missiles were stationed in Ukraine, then there'd be a very short distance for them to travel to Moscow from Ukraine.
Yeah, so this is right. This is all about arming all of the NATO countries, basically. Right at that time, I don't think Poland was armed at that time yet. It was only very recent that Poland got armed, and that was, I think, during not Biden. I'm sorry, Trump.
With this security, like I said, look, everybody knows there's no.
He was the 45th president.
Missiles on Ukrainian soil. That's total nonsense. Nor was there. Absolutely not. As I say, there was no plan to get Ukraine into NATO. They hadn't even got a membership action plan. They'd got nothing. I mean, yes, back in 2008 at the Bucharest summit, George Bush, the US president, had said very strongly, well, look, we've got a problem here with Ukraine. It doesn't have
Oh, wow. Back in 2008, Bush said something? I didn't know that.
a security guarantee. Look,
Motherfucker was talking about Al-Qaeda the whole time. You gotta get the weapons of mass destruction, that fucking guy.
its position is very difficult. We should get them in. They want to be, and we should get them in. And actually, it was then, and it was the Europeans who said no, and the French and the Germans in particular. Looking back, it might have been a good thing if we had got them in there, but we didn't. And
so the French and the Germans were like, no, why? I wonder. I guess because they didn't think it was necessary, or they thought it might upset Putin. I don't know. I mean,
as I said, in 2022, there was no prospect of that change.
This is starting to sound like a game of Civilization, trying to figure out what the fuck to do.
So Putin focused on all that, and he was obsessed with stirring up that issue, trying to make it look as though NATO was being expansionist.
Well, I mean, it was from what it looks like. It is. I mean, just do I have to pull? Like, do we have to pull up the fucking map, man? uh. Yeah, we look at this map. Right, 1949. This was the original NATO. And then 1952, right, the black one. That's when they started expanding. Right, this was what during this was still kind of during the war. And then the Cold War, 1955. Like this area. 1982. 1990. Right. 1999. And in 2004. Looks like you guys are expanding to me. I don't know if I can. I mean, 2009. 2017, 2020. So it's like, and then you got also some of these have these other countries have peace treaties with NATO. So I mean, it kind of looks like it's expanding, you know.
And it all I can say is it really wasn't. You know, I was in every important NATO meeting from 2016 to 2022, either as foreign secretary or PM.
Oh, okay. He meant from there. Okay, he meant so after the initial expansions, they were just like, no, we weren't expanding anymore. I think that's what he's trying to say.
The idea that, you know, Ukraine was about to be put into NATO is complete nonsense. It's just.
Then why was Zelensky like talking about it all? Like, why were they all talking about it so much then? Even Biden. Like, this, come on, Boris. You're not there. There's something you're not telling us, brother.
Just wasn't on the agenda of the alliance then. I mean, it should be now because of what Putin's done. I mean, like, Ukraine has now joined the unhappy ranks.
See, this is the issue. The media was talking about it. Even the politicians were all talking about NATO expansion. It's like, come on. What do we do? What?
Of so many other countries in Central and Eastern Europe that have been invaded by Russia. You know, why is Poland, why is Hungary, why is...
Well, I mean, if Ukraine didn't accidentally shoot that missile into Poland... Yeah.
Czechoslovakia, why is all the Baltic states, why are Finland members of NATO now? Because they've all been invaded by Russia in the last 100 years.
And then they try to blame Russia
very
for
violently.
it.
And so
they got caught red-handed for that.
Is still to get Ukraine into NATO, in my view. And that's why I think Keir Starmer is right to say that Ukraine is on an irreversible path to NATO membership. But so that was the sort of conversation. It was a pretty creepy conversation. I remember the interpreter afterwards saying he'd been very familiar with me and sort of used, because he spoke in Russian. He has good English, but he spoke in Russian in that conversation. They said he'd used the more what's the word, the more familiar form of address.
Ты rather than вы.
To rather than voice.
I see, yeah.
And
which would be a sign of disrespect, actually.
Exactly.
I'm from Russia originally.
I thought, what he's really doing is he's not taking this seriously. He wasn't really listening. He'd already decided.
His mind was made up.
He'd already decided.
Let me ask you something else. So, and it's interesting because I want to put this on the table and I want to get your reaction. I came to this interview having heard that you went to Kiev and told them not to sign whatever agreement was made in Istanbul.
Oh, thank you.
And this is a talking point that's been extensive.
This is a Kremlin point talking point.
Hold on. Agreed. So, well, not agreed, but
sure.
I came into this interview ready to ask you about that. And then I went and looked at where that claim comes from. And it comes from various right-wing publications online. That's all linked to an interview with David.
How did NATO respond to Russia's annexation Crimea in 2014? Do you know? No
I
idea.
speak Russian and I can understand Ukrainian. He says no such thing. On the contrary, he says you didn't interfere and they didn't want
at that
to
time.
sign
I didn't really
because
fucking.
they didn't trust
well,
Russia.
I wasn't really into politics
They didn't
that
want
much.
to sign a neutrality agreement because what they thought was we're going
I
to
don't
sign
even
this,
know what the
they're
stance
gonna
was on
get ready to invade
everybody's
fully,
Completely right.
and then
feeling
we're
on the
gonna be
whole
caught
thing
with our
either.
pants down. That's essentially what he said.
Right. So a lot of these countries don't really.
Is there any truth though?
Right,
that,
talk about it
you know,
that much,
in
right?
Your moral
So it's
outrage at what Putin had done.
Kind of in the dark
you
there.
didn't consider how realistic it was to get the
Right,
Ukrainians
a lot of this
actually to,
stuff has been
quote-unquote,
kind
win
of
this
talked
war.
about
And the victory
in the
conditions were never
background,
clearly defined,
and not
Obviously,
really
it was
on
never gonna be the
the on
Ukrainian
like the
flag flying over
national
the Kremlin.
news media.
And people will
stuff.
argue, and this is what I want to get your
Outlets and
reaction to,
whatnot.
is now we are in a position where a better deal might have been available in 2022 without 1 million people being killed on both sides. Do you think that's a credible argument?
Look, you can't be more Ukrainian than the Ukrainians, right? And I passionately support Ukraine, but it's up to people of Ukraine, government of Ukraine.
Like
to
if
decide.
you were to read I think I was researching some stuff for my essay, but which one? Right, if you were to read what was it, this one? I think that's the one, right? Oh yeah. Yeah, this was back in 2008. And this was the where was this from? Where did I get this? Yeah, and so they were already somewhat planning things back in 2008 and shit. I would assume they were already moving forward with stuff 2014 as well. It's just they didn't really talk about it a lot. Right, away from prying eyes, really. Especially when the U.S. was doing a lot of coups and shit. Paying money to all these fucking places to deal with fucking politics and shit for some reason. 2006, 2007, 1982, 1990, 2000, 2001. I think this was from a college or government site. I forgot where. I would have to look it up. Yeah, Army War College Press. Yeah, this is the. Oh, okay. I know where I got that. It was from my school database. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely find probably information back in 2014. But yeah. What do you do besides streaming? Full-time student. Trying to move away from full-time student. I'm about to get my degree. I'll be probably finding a job
Yes,
pretty
but
soon.
if you'd said to them,
Or
and the US president
internship.
said to them, we're not giving you any support, they wouldn't have fought.
Computer
because they knew
science
they were
major.
not going to stand a chance.
Okay, well, so first of all, I think it would have been totally wrong to leave Ukraine to be engulfed by the Russians, and that's frankly what would have happened. If we hadn't given them the NLAWs and the javelins, which Donald Trump actually gave them,
NLAWs, basically the rocket
a
launchers.
big pipeline of Western support, I think it is well possible that Putin could have won that war, quite quickly.
But there was no deal to be. That's what I'm getting at. Was there a deal for the Ukrainians if they knew from day one we're not going to get Western support?
Also
we're going to have to
computer
do a deal
science
with these
too.
guys.
Oh,
They were
for
not
sure,
going to
for
do
sure.
it.
No, because well, I mean, maybe you disagree, but I think Putin, if you read the essay, if you look at what he was trying to do, his war aims were very simple. His war aims were to reabsorb Ukraine into the Russian Empire and to make it effectively
Well,
part
I
of
mean,
Russia.
some of the
vassal
Ukrainians
state.
are
That was
part
very, very clear.
Russian.
The
So
whole thing. He wanted Kiev, right? There wasn't, and
I mean,
so
that's why.
in
Well,
when I
and
went to
also you had some of the Ukrainian Russian people wanting to go back to Russia too. But then you had Zelensky being like, no.
to back to the Kremlin kind of
Oh,
talk.
so which is it?
Boris Johnson went to Kiev at the behest of Joe Biden to tell the Ukrainians not to do a deal with Putin. That's the Kremlin line. It is a complete lie, right? And so, first of all, I had no discussions with Joe Biden or indeed with
No, well,
anybody
obviously.
else in America.
Joe
for
Biden didn't
reasons of
seem like he
operational
was doing
security.
deals a
Because,
lot.
we didn't know the
The
risks.
dude was
of-
like
of getting
non-existent
to
for like those
Kiev.
4
Exactly.
years. He
I
like
went
got into office and then that
basically
was
because I
it.
wanted to show the UK's support and also to demonstrate, to our public and as much to everybody else, that they'd achieved a stunning thing. They kicked the Russians out of Kiev and out of that area, and Kiev was now a safe place to visit.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to make that point, to show solidarity and to make that point, was to go in person. And it's true that we had long conversations with Volodymyr Zelensky, and I told him how I said, well, what is obvious? I said on behalf of the British government and huge numbers of British people how much we admired what he had done. We couldn't be more Ukrainian than the Ukrainians. Obviously, if they wanted to do a deal, if they saw an alternative, that was for them. But all I said was that if they were going to fight on, then clearly they would have our support. And I don't think there was any realistic. There was not any chance that they could have done a deal. If you remember, at that stage, April 2022, Putin occupied far more land in Ukraine than he does now. I mean, far more. And they hadn't yet kicked them out of Kharkiv and Kherson and all the other places. And Putin was in a much more dominating position.
Oh, you also do freelancing? Oh,
He
for
was
sure,
asking
for sure.
for Ukrainian armed forces to be cut to a rump. He was asking for neutrality, for all sorts of changes to Ukrainian constitution, things that they couldn't accept. He was basically asking things that were totally impossible.
Did he want Zelensky gone? Have you ever read a headline or watched a clip and
Do you want
immediately made up your
Zelensky
mind about
gone?
a story, only to later find out there was more to it? We've all been there. The news isn't always as straightforward as it seems, and that's where ground news comes in. It helps you compare coverage from across the media spectrum
More
so you can
coverage.
see the full picture for yourself. Ground News is the website and app I use to cut through the noise and actually see the bigger picture. It doesn't just show you the news, it shows you who's covering it, how they're framing it, and what they're leaving out. A feature that I use a lot is the blind spot feed. For me, this is a game changer. It highlights stories that either the left or the right are ignoring.
Hey, a
so you can be
project
sure
for
you're not
your
missing crucial
client?
details.
Oh, for
For example,
sure.
here's a story I found on Ground News that got almost no coverage from the right. Honda to produce next Civic in Indiana, not Mexico, due to US tariffs. And here's one you'd miss if you only read the left-leaning outlets. South Africa rejects Musk's claim Starlink can't operate there because he's not black. With Ground News, you don't just read the headlines, you get insightful data on bias distribution, source reliability, and media coverage.
sorry,
No other
I
platform
don't
offers
wanna
this level of
watch the
analysis.
ad.
Right now, Triggernometry fans can get 40% off the
Ground
unlimited
News
Advantage
is a
plan,
good
the same plan that we use.
website
Just click the
for
link in the description
news.
or scan the QR code and subscribe at ground.news/Triggernometry. Your subscription doesn't just keep you informed, it helps bring transparency back to the
Unfortunately,
media. That's something we can all get
it's
behind.
not fully free.
Did you want Zelensky gone?
Of course, he wanted. I mean, I don't remember the conditions he was setting at the time, but they were not conditions that my views any Ukrainian president could have accepted. And you know, you got to remember that Volodymyr Zelensky is not he's not an unreasonable guy. He got elected really as a peacenik. He was out that 2019 he tried to do a deal with Putin. As far as I can remember, his basic problem was that the Ukrainian nationalists couldn't accept the compromise, and you can see why not.
Nationalists couldn't accept
their
the
country in
compromise.
2014. He'd taken bits of land already, and people were
So
incredibly
basically, they didn't want to.
angry.
Yeah, they were
asked us, but
angry
there's
at the
all
fact
sort
that
of
you already took the
long-winded way of
land and
saying
they didn't
that,
want to
no,
give it back.
I had no. All I was
So
trying
they
to
kept
do was show visible
kept the
support
conflict kind of
and
going.
say, look, and as I say, you can't be more Ukrainian than Ukrainians. If you're going to settle, then that's a matter for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to fight on, then you can count on our support. That's what I said, and I think that people can judge.
Seems like you have
whether-
interest in politics. Not really.
I mean, leaving aside my advice to President Zelensky, then people can judge whether or not he did
I
the
just
right
kind
thing.
of have to do it as of
in
right
fighting
now
on,
because it's part of school
by what
stuff right
happens
now.
now. And
Ugh.
I think, actually,
If I wasn't in
when
school,
you
I
look
wouldn't
at
have
it,
much
that there
of an
is
issue.
a very good chance that out of all this there will come a free,
Also, it's more so
sovereign,
I'm just
secure
a historian type of
and
person.
that would not have happened if you'd left it, if you'd done a deal in.
I
in
love
April
my history.
2022. It would not have been a sovereign Ukraine. It would not have been a free Ukraine, and it would have been run by Russia and by Putin, and it would not have had any chance of continuing on its journey towards democracy, free institutions, and engagement with the West. And that's basically what the Ukrainians want, and Putin would have stopped it. And so I think a lot of Ukrainians, I mean, I can't, I think a lot of Ukrainians would say what they did was completely right.
I have
Wait,
a lot of friends
so-
in Ukraine who would back that up, and you are very popular.
Wait,
in
so
Ukraine.
all of this
Well,
comes down to just some disagreements? What the? I was confused. So Putin didn't want the Zelensky or the Ukrainians to do trade deals with fucking the West or some shit. I'm confused.
because of the support that you gave on behalf.
Well,
of
I will continue to.
Or was
to
it the
support
beginning
as long-
support that you
and,
guys gave them?
Um,
Yeah, because they
clearly,
did give
uh,
support in the beginning.
I'm also hopeful that there can be peace.
So was that
right?
why Putin
I
fucking was
don't
angry?
want. Nobody wants conflict for the sake of
Historian and
conflict.
computer scientist student.
I
What an
actually
interesting
think that
combo. Oh, it's just
What is
I-
happening now?
some
is-
just taking a lot of history
there is the
classes and
you can see the germ of a solution. So the
in
Ukrainians
my
under
during
the,
my
under
course
the,
study, so it's
the resources agreement, the minerals agreement with the United States, they get a partnership with the most powerful country,
humanitarian
economic
course
most powerful
study,
country on Earth.
and fucking history
America
stuff.
commits to a free, sovereign, secure Ukraine. America commits under the minerals deal and other bits of the agreement.
Also,
It's
my,
like a 200-page agreement.
Well, my
But it
English
commits the
paper,
US to long-term support for the security.
my
of Ukraine. The
senior
beginnings of a security
senior
guarantee
paper is
are already
on
in that minerals agreement.
humanitarian
Then you've
or
also got the element of
human
the,
rights
of
violations.
the Europeans, led by the Brits and the French, coming in with this, admittedly symbolic but
it's
important
Kind of in the same realm.
reassurance force, or whatever we're going to call it.
Because history
Boots
is
on-
full of human rights
European Western
violations.
boots on the ground, boots from all over the place, but on the ground in Ukraine to make visible to Putin the reality of Ukraine's choice. That as a free sovereign country, they've chosen to invite France and Britain onto their soil, and that's something with them at the moment. Putin says he he can't accept. But we'll see where we get to. And
So it started when Ukraine started trying to ally with people for some reason, or wanting to open up to the world in a sense. Huh. That's strange. Why is that? Why was Putin so against a country opening themselves up to like a free market or free trade or whatever, or independent sovereignty?
And then when the concession the Ukrainians, I think, have probably made, and we haven't seen the details, but by talking to people, as I'm sure you have as well, the last few
see,
days,
we only have one side of the
what,
story, which is kind of the issue.
The Trump administration wanted,
and I think Putin has always said that he's been upset
recognition
with
of
Ukraine because they
the
started
military
some shit
reality.
or something.
And that for the sake of peace, it would be helpful to concede that they can't immediately reconquer all of the land that's been lost since 2014. So they can't immediately recapture all of 1991 Ukraine. And
No.
that.
Well, I mean, because Russia encroached so much.
Even that is a terrible thing to have to say. But I think probably, and it's an awful thing.
War
it's
is
awful
war,
to
man.
think of Putin
I don't know what to say.
Possession of this land. It's awful. But for the sake of peace, it looks like they're willing, for the time being, to go along with it, on the understanding, of course, that they don't actually revoke their claim, their legal claim to that land. So those would be the elements of the sort of US-Ukraine position, as it were. So it's the minerals deal with all its implications for security and economic partnership, the European-led peace force, France, whoever, peacekeeping force, whatever you want to call it, wouldn't actually be a peacekeeping force, but it'd be there in the symbolic logistics training and all that. And then the temporary acceptance that there can't be a complete reversal to the status quo ante 2014. Okay? Now, all that, some bitter pills there for Ukraine to swallow.
Yeah, we're still talking
now
about
is the
2014 stuff, by the way.
For all that to be put to Putin, and some other important things, like return those 20,000 children that he's kidnapped.
Yeah, so that's what basically fucking Zelensky brought up when he showed it to Trump, which was, I don't know why he could have showed it during the away from prying eyes. The fact that he showed it in front of the media is like, dude, come on, man.
And now's the time for Donald Trump. With all this,
it was obvious he was trying to play games in front of the fucking media.
And that is what obviously I hope we're going to see in the next few days and weeks.
Have you been shocked by Trump's approach to this situation?
No. Absolutely. I mean, bluntly. No, I think, look, what I was trying to argue with people was,
all you need is a political mindset.
No.
Yeah.
He but
well,
actually,
I
always said, wait. It's sensible to want this war to
not
end,
even just that,
right? I think even you Ukrainians, and I love Ukraine, but I think that they want to
more
they
so
want to pause it. A lot of people are
communication
dying,
and
they don't want to have to start
making sure
conscripting
relationships don't get
25-year-olds,
muffed up.
You can see the pain of that country. The country has been going through absolute hell, and they deserve a break, and they deserve to be free. And I think, honestly, what we were doing in the last couple of years, I mean, I left office 2.5 years ago, getting on for almost 3 years ago now. But what we've been doing has not been, Constantine, you said, right, we didn't have a plan. What was the objective that the West was?
Oh shit, he says it right there. Right, even in the beginning, they didn't have a plan when this shit hit the fence. Right, when all this stuff happened, they didn't really have a plan.
Setting out for for Ukraine. What was success supposed to look like? We never said. I mean, I said right at the beginning, Putin must fail, Ukraine must be free, and so on.
There was
But we sort of
so
lost
these motherfuckers did
the
not
sharp
come
edges, and
up
what
come
we were
up with a
doing was
plan
just
to
saying,
deal with all this shit when
we'll
shit hit
support
the
you for as long
fan.
as it takes.
Motherfuckers, you
And
guys are
we
fucking
began
running
holding the Ukrainians'
nations.
coats
And you don't
while they were
didn't come up
fighting
with a
and dying
fucking plan.
without actually
God
giving
damn
them
it.
enough to win.
Oh, fucking
And I-
politicians,
Why were we
man.
doing that?
Because honestly, because it go back to the same thing that was stopping us giving them, was stopping the Foreign Office allowing me to send them the in-laws in the first place. Because there's this sort of superstitious apprehension about what Putin might do, and so
Yeah, that's another thing. A lot of the media and some politicians kind of do this on purpose. The fear mongering, right?
which I think is ridiculous, and I don't believe is true.
And obviously,
there's a
I think
sort
it's
of,
to fucking boost
why
their
is that,
goddamn
Boris?
war
Well,
machine
let me
a little bit.
So I think it's
To get some
well, I'll tell you why it's
money
ridiculous,
or
because
ratings or whatever, right?
first of all, if Putin were to use a tactical battlefield nuclear weapon, let alone if you were to, he won't use a thermonuclear device against the place he calls the cradle of Russian civilization. But suppose he were to use battlefield tactical nuclear weapons to intimidate and deter. Well, it would be the first use of a nuclear weapon by a belligerent as an act of war since 1945. He would immediately lose, crucially, the backing of Xi Jinping.
Oh, really? Interesting. He just said if Russia decided to nuke fucking... if Russia decided to nuke Ukraine, Xi Jinping would not like that. Interesting. I wonder why.
He would...
Oh, is it because Ukraine has farmland, right, the crop source, it right, the market share of crops and all that stuff? That's probably it.
Lose the backing of all the swing voters.
Yeah, that's another thing.
world.
All
So
these
one
countries
most
are kind of closely connected in terms of resources that are being made and sold to everyone, right? So the fact that if you were to ever nuke one of these nations, you would be severely hurting the supply chain, right? Because people have not made infrastructure properly to deal with all that fallout.
Frustrating things about backers of Ukraine, like
as of right now, right, the balance between everything is kind of it's like kind of razor thin. Well, I don't want to say razor thin, but yeah, everyone's trading with each other in a sense, right? And the only people that are being sanctioned right now are Russia and China, right? The communist countries, right?
Back Ukraine is that the Indians, the a lot of the African countries, Latin
and
America,
then that's why we have the trade wars going on.
Great friends of ours in the Gulf, they're kind of a bit ambivalent.
The
right?
tariff
about
wars.
Putin and about Ukraine. I mean, and that's been frustrating. But Putin uses a nuke.
Exactly. Well, yeah,
Totally.
exactly.
He uses
Obviously,
all that.
honestly, if anyone uses a nuke, everyone's gonna be like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" Literally. Right? If anyone uses a nuke, everyone's gonna be eyeing that person.
Global support, all that global acquiescence. He scares the pants off his own people because they don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, yeah, Xi probably does the same thing too. Remember that one time during his fucking during I don't know how they got. I think it was the AP News who did a who got cameras inside, or somehow there was cameras inside. But when Xi was getting into power, there's like some politicians fighting inside the their parliamentary system or whatever they were doing.
They think
Their
he
hearing or whatever.
Nuclear reprisals
And
against us.
it looked like Xi was just
And he
ejecting
loses a
people
huge
that
amount of domestic support. He
didn't side
terrified
with
people.
them.
He does incur reprisals from the West, and I obviously can't talk about what they would be because the whole doctrine of nuclear deterrence relies on a lot of ambiguity. But there would be very, very serious reprisals from NATO countries and from the P5 of a kind that would be.
So we gave into his nuclear blackmail.
Deeply destructive, and yeah. So yeah, I think
That's what you're saying.
What I'm saying is not. We gave in to the general kind of superstition about Putin, you know, or about Russia. The Russia is spooky and frightening, and
well, obviously,
is inevitably.
You guys over the fucking lake, you guys in fucking Mexico, right? Canada land, you guys freak out over the smallest fucking shit. It is quite insane. Right, it's actually Boris Johnson is just speaking the fucking truth. Don't get me wrong, some Americans freak the fuck out too, but it's more so politicians and the fucking news media outlets who keep fucking doing this shit.
Going to win, and we shouldn't provoke them.
Always doing the
still don't poke
goddamn
the bear.
fear mongering
All
for
the
some
evidence
reason.
of the Ukraine war has been that the stronger we are,
Always
more
got to
decisive we
do
are in
the
giving Ukraine
doom and gloom,
what
right?
they need, the better.
Jesus
So
fuck.
look, so back to your question. You know, was I shocked by the Trump approach? No, because I think we needed a new approach, right? We did need to shake the thing up. It wasn't. We hadn't got a clear strategy anymore. It had all gone. You know, for the Ukrainians, it was miserable, and so you needed.
I'm for
to say, right, I'm gonna try and
one
make
with
peace,
reinstating
which is what the
conscription.
president is trying to do. And
Let's get the
I said
draft
just
going
now,
if you guys want to get the
I
war
think you can
machine
see in
spinning again.
that
You
package
fucking
of
idiots.
proposals that
God. Why are you guys like
they've reached
this?
in Riyadh, you can see the outlines of something, painful though it might be in some ways for Ukraine, still keeps a sovereign, free Ukraine, able to apply for EU membership, able to do all sorts of things which Putin finds intolerable. Now, and the question is going to be what Putin does.
I mean,
And
he
so
did say
the challenge
Ukraine should
now
not go into NATO.
is for
From his mouth, I don't know.
Donald Trump.
I don't know
to
what
really
Putin
turn
says
the heat
now.
up. And there are things he can do. There's economic sanctions.
I just saw your YouTube. Are you
the
into
oil price-
Rivals? I played a little
keep the
bit,
oil price down
but
below $60 a barrel,
I mean, I'm kind of
which,
am.
you know, maybe
I was waiting on more
Trump could
characters
help organize.
to be
Putin's
honest.
in a very different
because I wanted to play different
Because
characters.
then
I
he
wanted
can't
to play
fund his war machine,
the
in
newer
way that he-
characters if they
well, then
were
his
gonna
economy's
ever
really in
put
trouble.
them in.
And
Well, I want
the-
certain characters and
Trump
they
has a
don't
lot
have
of
them in
economic
there, so
leverage over Putin, and we need to see that now.
that too.
Do you think part of the reason that Liam Halligan, the economist, made this point?
Right now I've just
literally
been
yesterday when
playing
we interviewed him, that part of
Monster
the reason
Hunter
Trump
Wilds.
is approaching the Ukraine situation in this way is because he doesn't want to alienate Russia. Because the US's worst nightmare is Russia being in the arms of China and them having an alliance together.
I certainly think it's true.
Yeah, for whatever
that
reason,
the-
the U.S. politicians are kind of freaking out about China and Russia. For whatever reason. I mean, I guess because China has got the biggest GDP right now, right?
there is a
And in terms of people, they have more
a
people than us.
hankering in the Trump circles for a renewal of good
And then you
relations
got
with
Russia
People remember a time
allying
when,
with
when I was
Xi
mayor of
Jinping, right?
London,
China.
I
Right,
had to
that
make
just makes
speeches
their
in Russian,
GDP probably increase
about,
more a little bit, right?
Lenitz or whatever that festival is called, and welcoming people to welcoming Russians to London, and we had whole place was absolutely bristling.
I
With
mean,
hot
all
eyebrows
of our
everywhere. And
like we're
perhaps we overdid it. But
yeah, that's the other thing, right? We still have open. Given the situation, we still have some of our shit open, regardless of the wars, right? You still have civilians like going to and from sometimes. Oh shit! Whoops.
thing, on the whole, to want peace and friendship with other countries, right?
As long as they want peace and friendship.
As long as they want peace and friendship, and
Yeah, exactly.
I think
So it's like,
where the rubber is
I
going to
don't
hit
know
the
what's
road
going
now
on.
is when
So why are
those
you guys
discover
fighting? This
what-
is the
what
question.
Putin actually wants. And I think
Why are you guys being
I
petty?
very much fear that
What's going
it's
on?
going to be clear in the next few days he doesn't want peace, and he's not going to give those kids back. He's not going to agree to it. You've heard what Lavrov said already about the European force. It was interesting.
He said it would be a catastrophic escalation to have British boots on the ground.
Nonsense. It's total nonsense. Well, why a sovereign country should be able to invite whomsoever it chooses? And actually, I thought it was quite interesting that President Trump said that that Putin had agreed to that. You saw. I mean, Trump said he said I asked him that, and he said he didn't have a problem with it. I'm more or less quoting exactly what the president said about his conversation with Putin.
Oh wait,
So,
about the demands? I don't remember
let's
him
see where we
saying
get
that.
to, because if I were Putin, I don't want to be a spin doctor for Putin, right? But if I were Putin, I think I could try and explain myself. Yes, it's been a catastrophe for him, and he's lost 850,000 people killed or seriously injured, soldiers.
And the war.
It's been an economic
Some of those
catastrophe.
some of those guys are
but
getting fucking crushed by
Russia's,
APCs and shit.
been able to absorb these losses. And the economy
God, some of them are getting fucking
converted
drone
into a
striked
kind
on
of
each side.
Keynesian, war economy, and it's actually to some extent worked. I think he could say, look, folks, we're ending the special military operation. It's been a great success. The undertakings I've had from Kiev have reassured me that the Nazis have been removed. Well, no, you laugh, but I mean, listen to what Lavrov said.
He can sell a win to the Russian people.
Lavrov talking about Nazis in Kiev, right? So they believe that it's full of Nazis.
Well,
we've removed the Nazis.
might be
It's like the end of,
sympathizers.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, when the Nazis, the
Other than
Nazis
that,
will melt
I mean, these guys are in fucking bloodshed.
It's been a great success. We're in the name of peace. Russia
They're
is,
fucking crazed with war.
We will of course maintain.
Did you play Overwatch? I did at one point, back in the
bulk of
day.
the lands that we've
I don't play anymore
invaded.
though.
That will be. That's
I don't
where
play a lot
the
of
serious negotiation will have to take place about what exactly gets back to
PvP
Ukraine and
games
what
anymore.
doesn't now.
I barely do.
And
I've just been playing a lot of
so
non-PvP
question
online
about,
multiplayer games and
are we provoking Putin?
single-player experience stuff.
Yeah, I think he has. Are we going to provoke him to do something irrational like nuclear weapons? I think he has a lot of political space.
I mean, from time to
he
time,
can
I'll
use before he has to
play some
do
PvP
that.
stuff, but yeah, I don't really do it a lot.
I happen to know what he's very good
When
at.
I was younger, yeah,
is
sure, I did a lot
giving
more.
the impression
Nowadays, I don't really have the time.
to our American friends that he's
Especially
the
when you
one.
have to fucking
Keep
keep playing like 8 hours a day to get your fucking skills,
ultra nationalists,
your hand-eye coordination
much more
and
difficult for
shooting
people to see.
skills
I think
of
that's
all the
what-
fucking day,
that's-
all
that's
the
what
time.
he's quite effective in persuading people of that. So I
Yeah,
think
thinking of strategies
I
and
think he-
blah blah blah.
he's strong. He
Too
has
much
the
work.
space to make
Too much work.
a concession and get out. And
A deal can be done. I hear you.
I think so.
I
I mean,
got
do
it,
you
got it.
agree with me? I mean, maybe I just think
We're going to see over the days to come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
I
will
obviously.
find out. I want to ask
I
you one
think
other
a
question
deal
about your
can
friend,
be
then we
made.
can-
It's just it's hard to say what Putin wants and what Ukraine wants, because it seems like none of these guys are telling
about the way
Telling up front what's really happening.
President Trump has handled it, and the way that it went 10 days ago or so in the Oval Office, and everybody's been freaking out and saying it's the end of the Atlantic Alliance and blah blah fish cakes.
Yeah, everybody's being like, yeah, it's the end of the war. It's the end of the world. Nuclear fallout.
And then I want to move on to domestic issues.
Nuclear
You
war.
know how coffee gets you going in the morning, but a few hours later that caffeine crash hits?
Calm
What if I
down. I
told
don't
you
think
there's
it's
a way
not
to
going to
make
go
your
that
coffee
far.
work smarter for you?
Yeah, even
That's where
Putin
alpha cells
isn't probably going
neuromagnesium
that
comes in.
far.
It's a game changer because it combines magnesium with L-theanine.
And if he
amino acid
was,
that
he
link to
probably
both
would
its
have fucking
relaxation and
already
cognitive
launched
benefits.
it.
When paired with caffeine, L-theanine creates a synergistic effect, releasing energy slowly over time.
He
to
wouldn't
sustain
have
focus
waited.
without the jitters or the crash. Neuromagnesium is tasteless, so you can mix it with coffee or any drink without altering
If
the
he
flavor.
wanted
Plus,
to
it doubles
be
as
an
electrolyte,
enemy
making
of
it
the
perfect for
whole
hydration during the day
world,
or
he
promoting
would have
deeper
just
sleep at
fucking
night. And
launched
here's what
it.
sets Alpha Cell apart. They're committed to quality. No artificial sweeteners, no plastic packaging, just glass bottles to keep microplastics out of your body. They even post third-party lab results for total transparency. So whether it's for sharper focus, better hydration, or more restful sleep, neuromagnesium is the way to go. Visit alphacell-labs.com or scan the QR code on the screen. Use code TRIG20 for 20% off. That's alphacell-labs.com, code TRIG20. With their 30-day money-back guarantee, you've got nothing to lose, except maybe the crash. Right. Now back to the show.
Thank you.
You mentioned that in your time, this is something I've always thought about, and I've said publicly quite a bit about this too. You mentioned your time as mayor of London, oligarchs everywhere.
Well, yes, I mean, in
we-
those days it was not. I was proud when I was mayor of London. I said that we had more billionaires in London than any other city in the world. And I was very proud of it. I said that London is to the billionaires as
probably.
the jungles of Sumatra are to the orangutan. It is their natural habitat.
Yes.
And people nowadays get very cross and they think it's all terrible. They should be.
No, I'm not
They should
against-
be hung from the lampposts. But actually, they bring. I would go back to that. And I think what we've done. By the way, on
Boris, with all
for the
respect,
first
let me
time-
ask the question before you answer it.
It's a disaster.
No
we're
one in this.
kicking these people out.
I
It's a
agree with you.
total disaster.
We're
I
losing-
go around the world now and I meet so many people.
You didn't even get to that.
London is the greatest place
This
in
is
the
what
world.
he's like. You can't get a question in edgeways.
You go on.
Boris,
Go on.
I agree with you about billionaires. I
Yes.
agree that it's bad that we're losing wealthy people.
Yeah.
I agree with you about all of that. I was talking specifically about Russia. And the
Yes.
question I want to ask you is, do you think we as a country failed to understand what Vladimir Putin is or had become when he was murdering British citizens on our streets with radioactive poisons? Do you think we failed back then because, frankly, there were too many Russian oligarchs here making a lot of money for people in the city and elsewhere? And because of that, we were far too reluctant to go, oh, this
Possibly.
guy is actually a hostile actor.
Well, I mean, you guys had a bunch of these scientists come in and shit, dude.
I think
Right?
when you look at things like the poisoning of Litvinenko, and remember this poor
Yes.
guy who was a KGB guy and was poisoned with polonium and in that restaurant in London, tea.
Litvinenko.
That was terrible. And I think when looking back, you can see a certain gingerliness in the way the British state responded to that initially. As my memory is, that we were a little bit sort of, we didn't do total freak out. And I think I think your point is probably right. I think that we thought we had big equities with Russia. Maybe there was something, maybe there was more to the Litvinenko thing than met the eye. And I think it is true that politicians from, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton onwards, everybody, David Cameron, all of us, everybody always thought that there should be a reset with Russia at some stage. And everybody who tried it ended up being bitterly disappointed. And I got to put my hands up. I tried. I explained it in the book. I mean, I had this absolutely appalling.
That's
I did
why
a trip to Moscow
fucking
when I was foreign secretary, and it was
Putin
absolutely
killed.
ghastly.
You knew too
we
many
sat in the
secrets.
not Soviet, the Russian.
Felt Soviet.
Part of the fucking
Russian
Secret
foreign-
Service.
and
No.
I was put on this roaring fire.
To have one
and
of
made
your
to drink lots
fucking
of,
assets,
glasses of
a
coloured vodka.
fucking turncoat.
And it was like,
Oh,
it was like
jeez.
a curious torture. Being made to get very, very drunk and very, very hot at the same time. And then have to listen to Lavrov's endless sort of sermonizing. And we achieved nothing, absolutely nothing. And then, I wanted to try and find, scientific cooperation, artistic collaboration, things where Britain and Russia could, two great powers that had fought to defeat Nazism and so on, all the usual things that nothing. You know, nothing. And then a few months later, they did the Salisbury poisonings.
Yeah.
Which was an absolute sort of 2 fingers up to the entire British public. And then they had those goons, you know, sitting
Yeah,
on,
basically,
being
yeah,
interviewed on
doing
TV
that
saying,
shit right under the nose
you
of the
know,
fucking
we visited
within the
Salisbury, you know,
right. It
the
doesn't
tallest
set a good
spire
precedent,
anywhere in,
right?
you know, in Britain. And you know, we went back again the following day.
That's why
it was too slushy
everyone's
the
kind
first
of
day,
upset
you know, it was
with
just-
Putin
As a Russian,
doing
I
all
find a
these
terrible
fucking
Russian accent deeply offensive,
crazy
sorry, I have to say.
spy shit, espionage
I'm
shit.
triggered.
Well, I
was
mean,
so-
everyone's doing
but
it
was
too,
painful,
so it's
right?
like,
And they were laughing at us.
Yes, they
I
were.
think.
And then they made him an MP, one of those two guys.
It's disgusting. It's
Yeah.
disgusting.
Anyway, let's
it was
move on.
disgusting. So, but look, somehow or other, we lost Russia.
Mm.
I still think that. I still think that there could have been a time in the 90s, probably quite early on in the 90s, when we could have had a different outcome to this thing.
so you're saying you guys
think.
botched a relationship
Because it is a
of
great
some sort.
country. It is an
We-
amazing
to what
civilization.
extent? Oh, we don't
And-
know.
It's a European civilization. It is, and it's a tragedy. But right now, it's very, very hard to fix, and it can only be fixed through strength. Only through strength.
Peace through
Agree
strength.
with you.
right?
Moving to domestic matters,
Or
Boris, you've always
lead
been
through, lead
you've
by
always
peace
been
and strength
a
or
huge
whatever.
fan and supporter of net zero. Why is that, Boris?
Depends when net zero is achieved, but yes, I have. Yeah, I mean, I think, well, in the sense that I think, well, it depends what you mean by always, by the way, because if you look, sadly, if you read my many,
Oh yeah, you had a dalliance with Piers Corbyn.
many millions of so millions of words I've written on this subject over the years. I've sort of, what happened really was, I began as a pretty sort of acid, vinegary climate skeptic, and so
Climate,
because I hated the sort of religiosity,
the climate
whole
change enjoyer.
and I hated the way you and people who were doing ordinary things were made to feel bad.
Oh,
and I
yeah,
thought
about
it
the
was
climate
very
change shit? Yeah, that shit was
basically
annoying.
all a socialist plot
It's so
to try to stop
stupid.
people living their lives.
Look
as
at
they
the whole
wanted,
Greta
and to sort of
Thunberg
coerce
shit.
people into
Ugh,
certain
my
patterns
god,
of
it's so
behaviour.
fun.
And I hated that. And I thought it
Whoever
was like an
fucking
Aztec
did that shit,
religion,
oh
you know,
my
the
god, you're
sun,
so
cross
fucking
sun
annoying.
will fry us, and we must do if we follow certain patterns of if we recycle, if we do all this.
So what changed your mind?
And
Yeah.
you will find terrible articles I wrote saying that, you know, wind power would never pull the skin off a rice pudding, and
No
all this sort
wind
of stuff. And so I started to change my mind basically when I got to City Hall in 2008, and for a long period, most of my time at City Hall, Piers Corbyn was indeed the official City Hall meteorologist.
Given his evolution since that is very troubling.
I know. He's not sound on other issues. And I now think he's not right. I now think, on balance, he's not right about global warming. And so what happened was, you know,
Oh no, global warming.
I started really asking a lot of scientists, and you know, admittedly, there, you know, there is a, you know, as you've seen in lots of big scientific questions, that the scientists tend to coalesce around what is the acceptable position very often. But here's what I thought. I thought, and what really changed my mind, there wasn't a single Damascene moment. You know, it wasn't looking at your hockey
God
stick
damn
rather
it,
than
Boris
thinking, "Oh my
Johnson,
God,
you
we're on the
fucking
front."
yap.
It was
On the
basically
fuck.
intuitive. It was getting up in a plane the whole time. As I did as mayor of London, I was doing lots of trade trips, and then later as foreign secretary, and just seeing what, you know, when I was born, there were about 3 billion people in the world. There are now getting on for 9 billion.
Yeah,
It's
about.
I mean, the change is unbelievable, and you can, when you fly over Latin America, when you fly over Africa at night, and you see the fires burning, but all the way up. If you fly from the Cape to Cairo overnight in Africa, right? Try it. You look down, you see fire after fire after fire, the bush, the scrub, the jungle burning, and humanity encroaching everywhere. And you see the
So basically,
destruction that human
seeing
beings
from
are
a
wreaking on the
plain
planet,
view
the
of
spread of cities.
the
And I thought, I think, my goodness,
architecture
'cause
and
you
the
look down and just see the huge
the
numbers
building
of people.
of
And
human
intuitively, I sort of
hands,
think, well, look, we're clearly having a colossal environmental impact.
or the destruction of
Whichever way
human
you cut
hands.
it, nature is being interfered with on a massive scale. Maybe these guys are right when they talk about the atmosphere. And I thought, well, look, you remember Pascal's wager
Yes.
about the existence
Yeah,
of God?
you should believe in God just in case he's real.
Yeah. I thought, what's the downside if we're wrong?
Perfect. Well, let me stop you there.
So I thought, what's the downside if we're wrong? And say, wait, I know what you're going to say. The downside is we impoverish people because we invest in lots of crap technologies. We force them to buy electric cars which don't work.
But there's another part to it, Boris. Can I just make the point?
Yeah.
That's not the only side. That is one side of it. The other side is we are facing an ever more unstable world.
Yes.
Where geopolitically things have become, the conflicts are springing up left, right, and centre. Can we really afford to deindustrialize? Can we really afford to shut down steel power plants when we really need to become stronger and more powerful in order to face
and
an
our
ever
energy
more
prices are 4 times what they are in the US.
Yeah,
I know.
There's literally
So that's the
conflicts
trade-off.
popping up
This thing
left
that
and
you say
right
is
for
Pascal's
some
wager.
reason. Right, you have that shit in Serbia. You have
And
that
it
shit in
costs in this
Syria.
country,
But
what,
all I'm
50
asking-
Right,
all
you
I'm
have
asking you to
the
believe
Africa
is that
Congos
ultimately-
in some fucking conflict
all
right
I'm
now.
asking
Right, you
what
got
I was asking
the
myself
Rwandans
Yes.
back
was that ultimately
into some conflict.
to bet
Yeah,
on
Russia,
cleaner
Ukraine, right?
world
Russia-Ukraine
and a cleaner
conflict.
technology
You
was
got Israel-Hamas
long-term the right thing to
conflict.
do. And
You got the
agree with you
Houthis conflict. Right?
is
You
that
got some.
we rushed our fences. And you look at the UK energy policy is frankly it's
And then you have
disastrous how
shit
expensive
popping
our energy
off
is.
in
And
London with people getting
we totally failed
stabbed
to
and
invest enough
fucking
in
Southport
nuclear.
killer shit
Labour
and
was
gang
in for 13
gang
years,
violence and
didn't
whatnot.
build a single nuclear power plant or even start plans for a single. I don't think a single nuclear
And
power
then
plant.
you have Germany start
the Tories came
fucking
in
being
and,
like,
Lee
"Yep, no
started things like
no
nuclear
freedom
with
of speech
vast expense.
anymore."
When I was
First
running,
Amendment,
we set
yeah,
up
right.
British Nuclear, which had a plan to build really quite a lot of nuclear power. I think nuclear power has got to be part, but nuclear power is not, as everybody knows, the sole answer. For the time being, you've got to have more hydrocarbons, and I perfectly accept that. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't.
You shouldn't care about the environment, but no one's saying that.
Well, no,
Yeah, no one's
then I
saying
think
that.
we're in hideous risk of agreement because
Yes.
So all I'm saying is
Look, if you're going to be
it's like-
popping up a bunch of fucking nuclear power plants, obviously you should take it easy and not build a lot. Obviously they should be small scaled enough that you can deal with the
Augustine,
the
make me pure,
byproduct,
but not yet,
right? The
right?
waste
Well,
and
we're at
stuff.
risk of agreement on the rhetoric, but I don't think that your time in government reflects the things that you're saying to us today.
Well, I think it
mean,
did. we did a massive drive.
Yeah,
the energy-
yeah. Also, Boris Johnson's time in government, right, has been saying different things than what he's been saying now. That's the other thing. So it's weird for him to come out and say all this shit now, instead of saying it on the fucking news right, on the airwaves. Right, on the national right? So, why do politicians fucking do? It's so fucking weird. Oh my
prices we have
fucking
now
god!
are partly because when you were
It's
a
like they're
Howie, you
really
either didn't
trying
do
to get
anything
the
about it
war
or made that
machine
more
going
difficult, right?
sometimes.
No, we did huge investments in nuclear.
So why isn't energy become cheaper?
Because we've had a massive spike in the oil price, largely driven by Ukraine, and we haven't done enough. And
So why don't we produce our own oil instead?
Yeah,
of
why don't we
should
produce?
We should do, and we should be using our own hydrocarbons. I
Okay.
agree,
Yes.
and I actually said that I think several times in the House of Commons. But if you remember, sadly, in July 2022, I was no longer able to fulfill my mission.
Yes.
And so
Yeah, you
We'll
got
talk
kicked
about that
out
in a second.
so I think
because you kept getting shut down for some reason.
I think most people in this country kind of get it, and I think most people people instinctively don't like pollution. They don't like screwing up
Of
the
course.
environment.
Oh well, I mean, it was
they-
probably
they
the
think the global warming problem
environmentalist
is
craze,
something in it.
right?
Sure.
And on the whole,
The
if they
fucking
can
Greta
get
Thunberg
access to
bullshit.
clean green technology, then they're going to want to go down that route.
Yes, but Boris,
But so the question
What?
is, how
No
can
one
you
has.
do that in a way
That's
that
not the what? That's
forgive
not.
me,
is
but
gonna
now
drive jobs and
we're
growth?
not even remotely at risk of discussing agreement, because I don't agree with you about most people getting it. Most people, if you ask them what is the downside of net zero and how much is it going to cost, they would say, "Oh, I didn't know there was a cost." That's the level of brainwashing we've had on this issue. No one talks about the fact that this policy has gigantic trade-offs for our economy, for our ability to defend our country, for our ability to do things like defending Ukraine. We're basically losing the ability to make military-grade steel in this country.
Exactly.
I remember.
Yeah, we're literally slowly degrading ourselves for some reason, while China and Russia are still making weapons. Like, what the fuck is happening? Right, we're losing the race. Is what's happening.
And that's because of net zero.
And I think all that's crazy. And by the way, we should.
Yeah, it was the same way how, right, Google just came out and was like, yeah, we're not limiting ourselves. We're going to be going into the weapon production. So, you have that shit going on. Where people are still trying to grapple with morality and ethics, right?
we should be putting in special arrangements for places like Port Talbot and all these other critical strategic steelmaking plants. They should have their own.
Yeah, I don't know why we're
capabilities.
doing.
I don't know why.
It's so
All right, let's
weird.
talk about that.
We should.
One other topic.
Yeah,
we should definitely do
One other
London
topic
did it to
before we go to our,
themselves.
supporters.
Probably France did it to
Thanks
themselves
to
too.
today's
The
sponsor,
U.S. big proponent of deindustrializing themselves when they shouldn't have. Right, we barely produce anything in the U.S. now. If anything, we're a small market share of shit.
Venice. Have you ever wondered what
And instead we buy
ChatGPT and Claude are
everything
doing
now.
with your conversations?
Yeah, that made in
We
China
already know
shit.
that
Yeah, that's
Alexa listens
everywhere.
in and suggests products
And
based
there's
on
probably
what
a
we
reason
say.
for that.
And Meta retargets us based on everything
Oh
we click on.
boy.
But think about what we share with AI, our ideas, business strategies, personal thoughts, sensitive questions, and so on. And here's the kicker. This data isn't just stored, it's tied to your identity and passed along to third parties, sometimes even governments.
Yeah,
You
it
might see
seems
in
like
news
the
that AI
second
everyone's
wave
downloading is
of the
actually sending
Cold
unencrypted
War. It
data
seems
straight to
like
Chinese servers. And here's the thing, it's
the
not just
Western
Chinese companies we need to worry
civilization
about.
is
ChatGPT
losing
is close ties
a
to government
bit.
agencies and big tech firms, raising important questions about how our data is handled. If you follow Triggernometry for long
Just
enough,
a
you know
tiny
issues
bit.
like this are close to our hearts. That's why we started using Venice AI, today's sponsor.
Venice AI is a generative AI platform that is private and permissionless. It doesn't track you, doesn't sell your data, and certainly doesn't censor your requests. Unlike other AI platforms, Venice encrypts your messages and stores them only in your browser, not on their servers. No downloads, no installations, just secure
The
AI.
Venice
straight to your web browser.
We
AI.
use their Pro
Wow,
plan, which
interesting.
comes with some serious perks. Safe mode off for unhindered image generation. Upload PDFs for summaries or insights. Modify the system to change how it interacts with you.
If you want to use AI with privacy, freedom, and without censorship, then right now you can get 20% off a Pro plan by clicking the link in the description of this episode and using our code Triggernometry. That link is venice.ai/Triggernometry. And now, back to the show. The one
More
thing that
another AI
many
platform.
people feel was a big failure of, and this isn't just you when you were in power, it's the entire Conservative government.
Yeah.
You pursued Brexit. You won Brexit effectively, and ultimately you won the 2019
I made
election
jokes
on the
about
promise
Brexit a
to
lot.
get
I'm sorry.
Brexit done.
Yeah.
Brexit, I know it's more complicated, and this is a
Yeah, it's
reductive
pretty
argument
complicated.
slightly. Well, Brexit was basically a referendum on immigration for a lot of people, right? And like I said, it's a slightly reduced argument from the complexity of it.
Go on, yeah.
But it was, to many, many people, an opportunity to express how they felt about mass immigration, which under the Labour government, the Blair government, more people came into this country under that government than had come into this country between 1066 and 1950. Okay? Pretty unprecedented, or extremely unprecedented, unprecedented.
Oh, the open border.
And they
Yeah, their
expressed their
mass
views in the
immigration,
presidential
right?
referendum. And
Or
with the hope that
migration.
both mass immigration and illegal immigration in particular,
Yeah.
which is an irritant to people all over the political spectrum.
What they wanted was to take back control.
In order to do what?
To take
In
back,
order to do what?
To take
in
back
order
control.
to leave things the same or make them worse?
So that the
To take back control
politicians
what?
could rightly be held to account for the numbers of people coming in.
Okay, so I'm holding you to account right now.
And so
I'm
yeah,
holding you
yeah.
to account
Wait,
right now. So let me do it.
Go on.
We had the Brexit
Wait.
referendum. You
That sounds so fucking stupid, though. You're going to allow all these people to come in when you don't have the food, the housing, and the proper money to assimilate all these people, and to make sure that they're going to assimilate properly and put back into the economy. That shit didn't fucking happen. Some of that shit didn't even happen. If anything, you're more in a fucking hole. The U.S. is in a deficit. California's in a fucking deficit. Some of the states in the United States are in a deficit because of all the fucking stupid open border policies, and probably the sanctuary city bullshit. And you guys keep trying to help these people who literally cannot be helped when we already have fucking issues at home that we're still trying to deal with. You literally still have homeless people still fucking running the streets. You have high crime rates in certain towns and cities. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You're just adding more fucking problems.
came in 2019, and under your government, we had
Right? Not only do we have these problems, but you're bringing more problems in as these people come over the fucking border. Like, do you think we can fix all these fucking people's problems? Why do you think there's people who still live by the first world country, second world country, and third world country order? That's because it's so hard to fucking fix these goddamn problems.
Being described as the Boris wave, in which we had as many, if not more, people come into this country in a similar period of time.
That's actually
and then you're asking these people from the second world, third world countries to come into the first world countries that don't know what the fuck they're doing, right?
Look at if you look at what actually happened, the numbers go down. We have a huge number of people leave the country
because of COVID.
Because of COVID,
yes.
And so the whole thing is complete bollocks. You then have a lot of students coming back to complete their courses,
right?
Who push up the numbers in that so-called wave.
Yeah.
You have, of course.
Basically the people who didn't during the COVID. A lot of people just stopped going to work and shit like that. Right?
Coming in, you have Afghans coming in to whom we owed duty. You also have.
Wait, that was weird. Because why were people doing that? I was still going to fucking school. Like, what? That all bullshit? I didn't stop going to fucking college. Motherfucker. God damn it.
Hong Kongers?
You also have Hong Kongers.
Why wasn't I paid?
And this was not, government policy, but it was something that was driven by the Migration Advisory Committee. You had a panic, if you remember, post-COVID, when nobody could
fucking
get the
pussies.
Do you remember this? There was a thing that nobody could get the
shelves.
Oh,
COVID! I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die from a cough. Fucking pussy.
The crops are going to be picked.
I hope you fucking croak from that cough, you fucking piece of shit.
The petrol stations couldn't get fuel because there was a shortage of lorry drivers and all that.
You just didn't want to go to work.
The Migration Advisory Committee, and we were very worried about social care workers, or the officials were, and so yes, I think they probably did hand out too many visas or too many people, plus their dependents to come in under.
Yeah, people became dependent on that shit.
There were exceptional circumstances.
Right? Just look at what's happening all over the fucking news and shit. There's so many people becoming dependent on this way too dependent on the goddamn government.
COVID.
Way too goddamn
and they
dependent.
were immediately remediable
And why have we got?
because we could have because we had taken back control.
No,
And the-
hold
and-
on.
Whoa,
Hold on.
the
You
control-
said- no, Boris,
what
I'm not gonna let
control?
you get away with this. You say
Yeah.
You must.
no, I'm not.
You must.
No,
I
you
must.
cannot.
Hold
I'm
on.
sorry, you must.
There's a different point. You say people wanted to take back control, and now, even to this day, we have tens of thousands of people come into this country illegally on
Right,
small
well,
boats.
but okay, good. Okay,
How is
I'm
that
glad you
taking
said
back control?
I'm glad you said that. Okay,
Where's the control?
So
Yeah, where's the
control?
control?
What you've
Yeah,
conceded,
I'm
which
just
is the most
I'm
important
confused
one,
at why
is
we
that
want
have
these
legal
people inside.
control over the people who seek to apply to come here. Now, I accept that there were
Are you basically saying you want to indoctrinate these people, or you want to brainwash these people to vote for you? Is that what you're saying? You fucking cunt.
exceptional circumstances after COVID, which led to some what looked like some big numbers, but as I say, there were exceptional reasons for that. Now, because we control the numbers coming in legally, we can offset for that, and so we can.
Oh. Were they running that's what was they were trying to run numbers to see like what they can accomplish legally data wise. That's it's so stupid. Why didn't you just tell people? Why did you go about in this roundabout way of just hiding shit? I mean, you are already legally allowing some of these people to come in through visas and humanitarian efforts. So why the secrecy? It makes no sense. It makes no fucking sense.
Right? Actually, under Keir Starmer,
the net zero.
Thanks to his brilliant policy of persecuting anybody who's got an ounce of creativity in this country.
Dude, I don't know what the fuck. What are these fucking Dude, I think these politicians are fucking high off the shit.
People are fleeing Britain for the first time since the
I
1970s.
feel like some of these politicians are getting high off their own
Frankly,
supply.
given your talent
Jesus,
and
what the
enterprise.
fuck?
He's very good. Very good.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle. So we have formal control, which is the most important thing. And don't forget what Starmer wants, and he would do if he could.
No one here is a fan of Keir Starmer.
No, but I think people, there may be some fans of Keir Starmer watching this, and they should know this.
I don't think so.
No, God, I hope not. Jesus, fuck.
Why are there tens of thousands of people coming to this country on small boats?
Because so first of all, Starmer, Starmer would go back to free movement. So 520 million.
Yeah, if you're going to say that when Biden was in power, oh, we're just going to allow these people to come through boats. And we're gonna take back control. What the fuck are you talking about? Take back control? We don't even know these fucking people. What do you mean take back control?
Where's the control? Where's the control?
Yeah, what control?
The plan. I hugely admire what
Rishi Sunak just said. "Stop the boats" was the wrong slogan. We went too far.
We should have no. The problem was that they didn't do what I told them to do. The problem was, seriously, that we should have continued with the Rwanda policy, which actually was the only policy that made any sense. And we should not only continue,
Oh, so this goes back to Rwanda shit. Oh my God. So this goes back to like the Hotel Rwanda, probably that stuff, right? And all the shit that's going on right now in the Congo and Rwanda. That's still going on. To this day. Oh, fucking Christ.
developed and expanded it. We should have found lots of other partners around the world because they're queuing up now. And look at what Trump is doing, putting people on the plane out of that is what people wanted to see.
Yes.
And we would have pulled that off. And it would have good. And as I said in my speech.
Wait, so what Trump is doing now is what you guys wanted to do, but for whatever reason, you guys got stomped out of the position of doing that for some reason? Like, what? Like, why was that the case, though? Was it because of Biden? Did Biden tell you to not fucking do it? Like, what?
In April 2022, I went down to Dover, and I explained to everybody, look,
yeah, I mean,
you
Trump
know,
is
you've got to
doing it
understand
now.
that,
So, are you
this is
saying
gonna
that?
take time
So,
because the
are you
legal
saying
object-
during that whole 4 years or 2 years or whatever, that you guys were playing along with this stupid game of just doing the dumbest shit possible? Like, what? What?
actions will be enormous, and there will be lawfare against me, and people will try to screw this thing up. But
Well, they
we would
did
have got
get
it done.
screwed up. Look
People said
at
we
what
couldn't get
happened
Brexit done. We
now.
got Brexit
What?
done. But I'm afraid from April to July 2022 wasn't enough time for me to do it, and then the whole thing lost momentum. You know, we now need, obviously, to come out of the ECHR, the European.
You guys need to
Convention on Human Rights.
stop fucking tucking
we
your
need to-
goddamn legs
and
between your
it
goddamn
was clear
asshole and
that the
fucking
lawyers were going to use everything
come
they could
clean,
to,
you fucking
to stop
idiots.
it. But eventually we would have won. And I think the mistake has been to scrap the Rwanda plan and to make us defenseless. And
Yeah, see, this is the other issue. They don't even tell you half the shit that's going on in Rwanda or where some of your money is going to these places. These motherfuckers, man. Fucking politicians. See, this is the issue. None of these fuckers are transparent about where our fucking money is going and where are we fueling just war and coups and trying to help wherever we can. They're not telling us shit. They tell us when shit hits the fan, which is the worst time to fucking tell us.
that, you know, I
Oh
don't know
my
what the numbers are now,
God.
but they seem to be bigger than ever. The people coming across the
These
channel.
fucking people,
The
man.
Rwanda plan
Telling us
was a
at the
great,
worst
great
fucking
plan.
imaginable time
and
possible.
We should.
Jeez.
My advice
They don't
to
tell us.
Kenny
They
would
don't
be
tell
to
us
come out
before
of the
when
EC
shit
to
hits the
campaign
fan.
on
No,
coming
they
out of
tell
the
us
ECHR
when shit
and reviving
at
Rwanda.
the moment
Because
shit
I
hit. Like,
agree with
it's like,
I think
dude,
actually
what
the
are you
British people-
doing?
I mean,
You guys were
I said what I said
planning
about the numbers
shit like
in 2020,
years in
whatever it was, you know,
advance.
2022.
And you didn't
They
you
were
didn't
mainly
so
driven-
much tell the fucking people that you were doing this shit. And now you want to come out now to say, "Hey, we need some help. Can you donate more money? Can you pay more taxes? You fucking pieces of shit."
overreaction to COVID.
Oh
and actually, it
man,
also
these
turned out,
fucking
by the way,
politicians.
that it was a lot
Yeah,
of
just
remained
pay more
hysteria
taxes for
about
the shit we caused
European Union
five
nationals.
years
They
down the
said-
line.
So everybody, the Remain
Oh my
bloc
god, you
said,
fucking asshats.
Brexit's going to be such a nightmare because all the 3 million European Union nationals will flee Britain.
Yeah, I
as
feel
this
like all
mega
of this
colony,
could have been avoided
horrible,
if they
hateful
were
island that's
they
voted
would
for
have
Brexit,
just
and they'll
been
never
fucking
come back.
transparent.
You know, it'll be a disaster. And actually, what
Jesus
happened?
Christ.
First of all, they grossly underestimated them.
Oh
There were
my
in fact
God.
6 million, not 3 million, and a lot of them did come back. So you know that certainly helped to change the numbers there, and they got that totally wrong. But the way to fix the problem is to be absolutely ruthless in stopping people coming here illegally and in
Well,
expelling
yeah,
those who do.
duh.
And honestly, and this is not a
Also, the fact that you had some of these politicians go out with a fucking smile, being like, "Oh yeah, open borders, come on through." It's like, dude, you are out of your fucking mind.
popular point of view right now. I think that some of the things that the Trump administration are doing are right, and I think that he seems to be. I like the Elon Musk cost cutting stuff.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
I like it, and I want you'll find in Unleashed. I kept telling Rishi that I wanted to see this, and I kept telling every government department I wanted to see the slaughtering of the sacred cows, as I kept putting it, until Rishi pointed out that this was against him.
It was the slaughtering of the sacred cows. This fucking
guy.
fucking Boris Johnson.
You do need in government. It's very, very hard.
I mean,
to
look, I don't hate Boris Johnson. It's just that in the game of politics, the fact that he was spineless. That's the issue. He has a lot of great ideas, but when it came to like trying to deal with his own political party and like all the people in his sphere, he was like Bernie Sanders. He just couldn't get his ideas out, and they just fucking shunned him.
Cut projects because they're all the legacy of some bloody
and then
or
you
civil
well,
servant,
Bernie
and
Sanders is more radicalized than fucking Boris Johnson. Still kept his sanity. Fucking fucking Bernie Sanders, I don't know if anything's been left in his fucking skull anymore.
and people have their egos invested.
I feel like he's too far
and
gone.
You can see this problem in the United States now, and people endlessly produce mutilated stumps, to bleeding stumps, to show how cruel you're being. But you've got to do it. And I've got to go. And
you've got to go in a few minutes. We still got some minutes.
No, I've got to go. I've got to go.
The messed up
stuff.
7 minutes.
7 minutes. 7 minutes.
Je dois
Boris,
partir.
we have military
Pour
voir un homme en ce qui concerne un chien.
Un chien. Oh no.
This is what he does.
This is filibustering in French. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, our last question.
No, you can't use French to get out of this, you fuckwit.
I think we might as well go to the supporters. We've got 7 minutes.
Fine.
Yeah.
Let's go to the supporters.
So we're heading over to Substack where you get to ask your questions to Boris. And he'll answer them in French, probably.
Bien sûr.
Bien sûr.
Why did you think we should do the Swedish model and then decided against it? But if you are happy, you're the prime minister. Why don't you just say, no, guys, we're not doing this?
Because
I'm a libertarian. I believe in freedom. I believe people should blah, blah, blah. That's your conviction.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right. Boris Johnson is literally like Bernie Sanders. He literally he's a liberal. He wanted what's best for his people and all that, but he just couldn't convey his ideas properly, and he couldn't not convey his ideas properly, but he couldn't get through to his fucking his political buddies that he needed to talk to and get some accreditation or validation to move that stuff forward. I don't know, man. Fucking politicians, dude. I swear to God, they're gonna fucking get us all killed. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, 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 man. Anyways, trigonometry. God damn it. Why are politicians like this? Why can't they just fucking do the right thing? Why do they gotta keep just spinning the fucking machine into this dumb fucking circle for no fucking reason? Oh no, we want your money and we want your votes and we're gonna keep going with this machine. Wee! You fuck. What time is it? I think I'm gonna call it. I'm getting tired and hungry. Also, it's getting late. I was gonna play video games.